Hello all, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this old rifle here with the motley finish. Unfortunately, this one was standing in a closet for God knows how long, and it got rusty, and somebody thought it would be a good idea to use a rust remover on it to clean it up, and it kind of left everything looking a little bit motley. But otherwise, this thing is in excellent condition, mechanically and internally. Just the finish is bad, so it's not really a bad thing. Oh, Merlin wants to take a look at it too, of course, and Honey. But as you can see, it was made at Enfield in 1884. It's a Martini Henry Mk. The one underneath means it's a first-class arm, and it still retains its beautiful Enfield roundel stamped on the butt. Again, Mk. First class arm. And yeah, these Mark IIIs are a relatively scarce rifle in most of the world. The reason for that was that they came out rather late in the evolution of the Martini Henry, and rather than issuing them, most of them ended up being kept in stores, and then they were eventually converted into artillery carbines and the like, Martini Enfields and Martini Metfords. So not a lot of them survive in the UK and so on, but they're relatively common in Canada because during the Riel Rebellion, Canada was still using the Snyder Enfield as its primary arm. So there was a little bit of a panic ensuing. Maybe we should have upgraded our weapons. So they made an emergency order for, I believe, 10,000 of these, which were not all delivered. I think 5,000 of them came over, and they came too late. They missed. They literally missed the train. They arrived just after the army had left by train to go to Saskatchewan. So they kind of languished in stores in Canada. This one doesn't have any Canadian ownership markings on, but being as it's a Mark III and it's in Canada, you can be 99.9% sure that this was one of that order. And it is in beautiful condition. Like, just look at it. It still has some bluing on the block. Has an original sling with it. This is actually a later sling. This is a pattern 1914. I believe it's a pattern 1914. It might actually be a pattern 1939 from the Second World War, because the leather just seems a little bit too supple to be the First World War vintage. But it is in beautiful shape. As I said, it still has its original cleaning rod with it. And it's, like I said, other than somebody having polished the finish off of it with that rust remover, it's in fantastic condition. What I wanted to talk about, I see a lot of talk online now. Oh, there's Merlin again. There's Bartholomew. Well, look at them causing trouble there. But yes, I allow cats on my dinner table. But I see a lot of talk about using these adapters that fire 45 cold out of Martini Henry. So this right here, this is a bullet straight out of a mold for 45 cold. So bear in mind that this bullet is actually a little bit larger than the bullets that are in 45 cold factory ammo. So, and this Martini Henry has essentially no wear in the bore, so it's about as tight as can be. So this bullet, I can actually push it into the bore. I'm not going to push it in too far because you can't push anything in from the breech to poke it out, but it's a really poor idea to be launching these out of out of a Martini Henry bore. Especially like if you're going to be using factory ammo, you're probably going to be using, well, I know there are jacketed bullets and 45 Colt available, and it should be noted too that they make these adapters also for 45 ACP in addition to 45 Colt. So factory bullets tend to be quite a bit smaller than these as cast bullets that haven't been sized. So at best you're going to have your bullet engaging the lands as it goes down the bore. It's going to be riding on the lands instead of going into the grooves. So it's not going to blow your gun up or anything, and I'm sure that you'll get reasonable accuracy at like even 50 feet or whatever. But it's not really a good idea because you're going to be leading the bore. You're going to have gas cutting. Like the propellant gas is going to be cutting into the lead and filling your grooves up with lead fouling. It's just a really poor idea, and it only gets worse if you use it with jacketed bullets. Like if you're going to be firing, say, a 45 ACP bullet down this bore, that bullet's basically going to be rattling its way down the bore, leaving streaks of copper everywhere it goes. So there's really no excuse for doing that today, because Martini Henry brass is now widely available. Well, it's not widely available, but it's a lot more available than it was back when I was shooting these things in the 90s. Like back then, the only alternative that you had was NDFS and Ballard, and both of their brass was that really heavy-duty, thick-turned brass. And frankly, it wasn't the best brass. It was inconsistent. Like the internal volume wasn't the same from round to round. The case life was rather poor. So but it was still fun to shoot. Like I would load up with I think I had 20 of those. I'd bring them to the range, and everyone would get a chance to shoot the rifle and whatever. But nowadays you can buy the brass from a fellow, I think it's X-Ring Services in the US, and he converts 24 gauge brass shotgun shells. They're not really the best option either, but they're a really good option, and they're relatively inexpensive. He also sells a mold, and you'll get far better results, and you'll have a lot more fun than trying to shoot piddly little 45 Colt bullets out of your Martini Henry. So really, there's just no excuse for doing that in this day and age. It's reloading for these isn't rocket science. It's actually a lot easier to load for them than it would be, like, say, a modern 30 caliber rifle of some sort. Basically, all you're doing is shoveling black powder into the case, and usually put some cream of wheat on top, and there's Honey has to come and have her say too. And it's not rocket science to load your own. There is a bit of an initial investment, but if you've already put the money out to buy the rifle, it's not that big of an investment to go, especially if you're going to be shooting factory ammo in this day and age. I mean, for the cost of a couple of boxes of 45 Colt now, you could probably buy the whole reloading outfit. So, it's just something to think about. I see this question come up all the time. People ask, how do these adapters work that shoot 45 Colt out of my Martini Henry? And that's my take on it, is it's just a waste of time. You're never going to get the best results from it. So you may as well just make the investment, buy the brass and the bullet mold, and make your own ammo than go that route. I suppose you could get an adapter that shoots 45-70 out of these, maybe. That might be a better option, but Again, the 45-70 too has a smaller bullet, so you would really be limited to hand loading for it. Yeah, I think I did shoot the 45-70 bullet intended for the Springfield trapdoor. Lee makes the special mold for it. It's has a bit of a hollow base, and it's a 4.59 diameter bullet. And that's still undersized for the Martini Henry, but they do tend to, with a full charge of powder, they bump up and they give you fairly satisfactory accuracy. So that's another option. X-Ring Services makes a bullet mold for both a paper patch and a grease groove bullet. I've heard good things about them. I haven't tried them myself yet. But they're definitely an option. No, and a far better option than these hokey adapters. Anyway, maybe one of the 3 or 4 people that watch my videos has a Martini Henry and wants to shoot it or something, and hopefully this video will be of some help to them. And I'll leave this off with a nice image of Victoria Regina's crown, Enfield, 1884. The Riel Rebellion was in 1885. The majority of these rifles you find in Canada date. The earliest I've seen is 1879, but most of them seem to date between 1883 to 1885, so these were essentially brand new when they were shipped to Canada. Interesting piece of history for sure.